Hey, my name is Brian. I'm a retired Navy captain. I was in the Navy for 25 years, and then I spent about the last 5 years as a contractor working for the Army, training helicopter pilots up near Fort Rucker. I started looking into oxygen therapy only because my dad, he's also a retired sailor. When he was on active duty back in the early 70s, we lived on Guam, and he fell on the ship, hit his head, had a massive brain injury. Anyway, he was airlifted to the Philippines, made a full recovery, but he lost his taste and smell. And that slowly, some of that came back over the 40 years plus that since his injury. But last couple years, he's been having short-term memory loss. So he went up to the Atlanta Brain Center. We thought maybe Alzheimer's, one of the usual suspects. They said, no, it's none of those things. He stayed up there for about a week. And they identified it to his brain injury and put him on a bunch of supplements and sent him away. And he was doing hyperbaric, which I thought was, okay, well, that sounds great. Maybe that'll work. But he was making trips to Fairhope, a hyperbaric chamber that he could afford. The ones at the hospitals were just prohibitively expensive. But it was taking him an hour to drive over there every day, a couple hours being there, an hour home. So eventually I decided I'm going to buy him a hyperbaric chamber and put it in his house, and we'll figure out how to do all this stuff. So I was researching those, and I just happened to stumble across LiveO2, and it sounded much better to me, much simpler to use and cheaper, and no prescription needed. So I could help him, I could do it, and we would all, and it looked like it would be much quicker. The only drawback I saw was it just sounded too good to be true. So it took me a little over a year to actually go ahead and purchase the first unit. When we got the system, we received the email video on how to set it up. Basically, you unpackage everything and you hang the bag up and plug in 2 hoses and turn it on, and you're done. It's a very elegant system, I guess is the way to put it. I got online and learned the basic protocol, and he got on there and did it. And then I jumped on right after he did and did it. And I don't know, an hour later, we're sitting there at the table, and I said, well, how's your hand feeling? I didn't think he'd have any brain changes that quick, but he had some arthritis in his hand, and his hand used to kind of be like that. And he goes, well, look at this. Full open deflection backwards and full closed. And then over the course of the next week or so, I find, he had knee surgery a while back that never healed deeply. And I said, well, how's your knee? And he said, I actually haven't thought about it because I don't think about it anymore. So he's getting up, walking right away from the chair, no problem. He had a fused disc. He had a rough time, but he's got some fused disc in his back from a back injury also. That doesn't bother him anymore. His energy was good. And he's always been kind of a workout guy, but at the time he was 80, he's now 81. And between that then and now, he pulled a calf muscle really bad. And he went back to his orthopedic surgeon, same guy that did the knee. And he said, okay, well, this is what it is. And you come back on this date, you're going to have to take it easy for a few weeks because this is a bad pull or tear. And when he went back to get scheduled for physical therapy, of course, he was on his LiveO2 machine the whole time. And the doc said, hey, go ahead, do it. It won't pull your calf. It can't hurt anything, and it'll probably be good for you. Well, he went back to get scheduled for physical therapy, and the doc said, hey, you're done. Just go home. Physical therapy be a waste of time and money for you now. You're completely healed up. So he couldn't believe it. He asked him what the machine was, but, no real further interest than that, which is kind of a theme in our story, is that a lot of the doctors, though they're seeing healing and results that they can't explain or they can't produce themselves, I would expect them to be going crazy to figure out what's going on and try to get a hold of some of these things. But anyway, further on my dad's thing, he's now 81. Some of his taste and smells come back over the years, but not that for carrot cake until a couple weeks ago. I consider that a huge breakthrough. Some brain activity from something that happened 40 years ago. You would think all that stuff in there was dead, but if you can get that oxygen back to it with the supplements and the detox and all the other stuff, it can come back and start working again. So, the other thing with my dad is that before we started him on this And this has been about 8 months, maybe 6 months since I bought his system. He could do 10 pull-ups already. Now he can do 13 as of last Tuesday. So he's gone up in 30% in pull-ups. And he's not doing anything different. He's just using Livo2 about 5 times a day. He's on the neurofusion regime. I used it on the weekends, so average 2 or 3 times a week. And, when I went back for my doctor's appointment, the blood work was astounding to me and the doctor. My cholesterol went from, hey, you're probably going to need Lipitor, to 83, I think was the number. And he was trying to find the paperwork for where he put me on Lipitor until we remembered that he didn't. He was going to if I didn't make some progress. My blood sugar was high, borderline type 2 diabetic, perfectly normal, liver function perfect, kidneys perfect. Just phenomenal. And by this time, I have my own system in my house. So my wife would use it when I was home twice a week also. And she did it for about 2 months. And over the past 7 years, she's been having high liver enzymes. And the doctors put her on all kind of different medications. Some of them had side effects. Some of them just didn't work. So she used the system. She's had a little bit of high blood sugar over the years and other things. But when she just got her blood work 2 weeks ago, her kidneys perfect, or her kidneys are that of a 30-year-old, he said. The liver is perfect, right in the normal center range. Just amazing. And, we don't really push it like terribly hard. I think I've had my heart rate up maybe to 170 a couple of times, but I usually don't do that. I usually go up to the 140 area. She usually goes up to 130, maybe 140. So it's not a terribly rigorous thing that we've been doing, although I'm sure we'll progress. But it's just been 15 minutes of twice a week, and we're getting results like nobody's business. My next door neighbor's an MD. She came over with sore hands after working all day, swollen. She got on the machine for 15 minutes. She gets off. My hands aren't swollen, and they feel good now. They're not sore. I got another MD that's using it. She's an internal medicine doctor. The other guy's a OBGYN and maternal fetal medicine doctor. And he's been using a little bit. He says he thinks he feels better. He's got 7 fused discs. So he hadn't exercised in 3 years. So he's real grateful to have the opportunity. But, I have 3 machines now. Well, the second machine I got was because I wanted one at my house, and I was hoping that my wife would start using it. My in-laws are using it a little bit as well. When I first had the results after my dad's experience, I just said, hey, people need to know about this. They need to have access to this. I thought, well, it kept me off of cholesterol medicine. It kept me from being diagnosed type 2 diabetic. Liver and kidneys, they're back to working perfectly, and I feel better all the time. So the doctor next door and myself and the OBGYN, we've rented some office space right across the street, and we've opened a small business. I have an LLC now, but we'll see. We can do this for a while and try to help some folks out. And it's been great for us. I have had no one yet that hasn't had positive results, and I didn't know all that was going to happen. It's just been a game changer for all of us, really. The expectations for me were, this is too good to be true. And that's why it took me so long to buy the first system. And then once I got it and saw the immediate, no kidding, 15-minute results for things that have been bothering us for years. Like I said, I got the thing to help his brain, and that's what we were shooting at. But come to find out, with this kind of system, you can't just shoot for one thing. You're going to shoot everything. It's going throughout your body, and everything, whether you want it to get healed or not, it's going to start repairing itself and working like it's supposed to. So yeah, it vastly exceeded my expectations in many ways that I wasn't even thinking about when I first got the system. It's absolutely no problem to get on there every day because it's fun. It gives you energy. Now I'm actually not just going in there to ride the bike, which is what it was before. Now I go in there and I ride the bike. I stay on breathing oxygen on the inversion table. I do some dumbbells and some other workouts. The Livo2 training and support has been great. There's as much there as you can take. You can keep it fairly basic like we have, but I've experimented with some of the high intensity interval training and it actually really works well for that. We've been experimenting with the brain stuff, trying to get my dad up to the level where he can trigger that. And the protocols are all there. You know, once you're a customer, you have access to a few more details and products on the other websites. For the people that were like me, and I'm sure there's a bunch of them that, you know, you go online and you look at what the company says, you look at the testimonials, you can find tons of presentations by medical doctors and people that really have no tie to the company except they have a machine in their office. And they're giving presentations to medical groups at conferences and stuff, and they're telling you what the results are. And all I can say is, look, if you're thinking that you need one of these, but you're thinking like I was, that it's too good to be true, well, it is too good, but it's not too good to be true. It's just, if you want results, this is one of the ways you're going to get them.